Sometimes you'll find a person saying that, no, he's not maintaining the child or she's not maintaining the child. So how the court tries to resolve that, the person against whom maintenance is sought will actually be directed to deposit the money into the court's account. Then the court will deposit it to the person who is in care of the child to ensure that, the child gets the money. Even though in that stage, that money can still can get misused. And then now, how do you try to resolve that? If you see that, okay, you've been sending money for your child for clothes every month, but the child is wearing rags or like torn clothes over and over again, you can actually go to the court and ask the court that when it comes to money for clothes, I prefer that I take the child and go to the store and buy for the child.
Now, what are the implications for someone that chooses not to pay even though an order has been granted against them?
So, if an order is being granted and a person fails to comply with a court order, that is contempt of court and that is a criminal offense. So it's very simple. The person can be criminally sanctioned and can be criminally punished. It can either be a fine or imprisonment.
Mr. Malematja, based on your response, I can tell that there are various forms of punishments pertaining the evasion of child maintenance. Can you please take us through those forms of punishments? To clarify that if they take you to jail, this is the number of years they are going to give you in a form of a sentence. And also, if you are required to pay a fine, how much are you supposed to pay?
Yeah, look, it all depends on the effects of each case, It can vary. Sometimes you can find the sentence. Now remember, guilt and sentence are two different things. Immediately when you start not complying with the court order, you are in contempt of court. And now that means you can be criminally convicted. Once you've been criminally convicted, the conviction will be contempt of a court order. Now, when it comes to the sentence, it can be it's a different process. Different prerequisites are looking into. It can either be maybe 2 years in prison or a fine, or sometimes it can be a fine and imprisonment. With the length of imprisonment, one cannot readily just say that no, you'll be jailed for 3 years, you'll be jailed for 5 years, or you'll be jailed for, you'll be charged, you'll be fined 5,000 or 10,000. It all depends with the facts of the matter.
So basically, this means that if the court decides to convict a person for their inability to honor a court order or the fact that they are in contempt of court, it means that the maintenance money will not be paid anymore, for the person in question will now be in prison.
You understand? So those are the the balancing system that the court puts in place, because here we are looking at the best interest of the child. Will it be in the best interest of the child to imprison this person and the child not get maintenance? No. Will it be in the best interest of the child to fine this person? How many times has this person defaulted on the maintenance? Say you have not paid for 5 months. Will it be in the best interest? Say, for example, the child was being maintained 1,000 or 2,000 a month, and the person is defaulted for 5 months. If it's 2,000 a month and this person is defaulted for 5 months, it's 10,000. Will it be in the best interest of the child to default this to imprison this person or fine them 12,000? Or anything above 10,000, it will be in the best interest of the child, because now that amount of maintenance can be recovered, and at the end of the day, the child will be maintained.
Okay, now suppose the court reaches a decision that it is not in the best interest of the child to imprison the parent whom maintenance is sought against, and the court ultimately decides that the parent is liable for a fine. What measures are put in place by the maintenance court to ascertain that the amount of money in question is paid and it is paid on time?
The court can actually order a garnish against you. So a garnish order, this is how it works. When your salary comes, if this person is employed, right, you get your salary, let's say, for example, 30,000 a month. Your employer can be ordered to subtract 2,000 and send for child maintenance. So before you even get your actual salary, you would have paid for maintenance. So that is another measure. If you keep on evading this, actually that's how the process goes. Before you even, it gets to contempt of court and everything, they try by all means, the court will try by all means not to criminally sanction you, but to actually consider the best interest of the child. So a lot of people are actually garnished.
Garnished in this case, meaning that they deduct the money from your salary.
Before you can even touch it, your employer, actually, the person who deposits your money, your salary, will be given an order by the court to say, so and so X and X employer. Before you pay, for example, Y employee, please take instructions from this garnish order and deduct 2,000 for his child or her child maintenance.
In that case, Mr. Malematja, wouldn't you agree with me if I said that it would be in the utmost best interest of the child to have garnish orders as a basic or rather traditional way of collecting the child maintenance money so as to avoid these cases of evasion?
Look, the court can't, in a maintenance court especially, remember a maintenance court is a creature of statute. So it can't on the first instance just order a garnish, you understand? It also speaks to our principle of legality. You cannot punish someone for a prospective action, you understand? We can't say because we foresee or because it is a national trend that people evade, so therefore you also fall within that category. So we're just going to garnish you from scratch. No. It can't work like that. We remember our law it's not proactive, it's reactive. We wait for something to happen, then that's how we can act. Which is only fair because you can't, the bottom line is just that you can't be punished for a prospective event. So yeah, a garnish order it's more like a measure of last resort where the court has given an order and you are not abiding, and the complainant on behalf of the child keeps on going back and forth court to say this person is defaulting, you understand? Because now you have those other social issues would say where maybe the guy will be saying, I can't pay my money into this woman's account. She's going to buy what. That's why sometimes it will be paid through court. Now, if you are still evading that court process, then they will have to garnish you.
With the social grants, and by the way, this is not me trying to deviate from the topic at hand, but I just want to make an example. With the social grants, you have people from the Department of Social Services or Social Development who usually go and visit the children who are receiving this grant to check whether the money is spent towards the upkeep of that child. Now, my question is, do we have such an initiative from either the maintenance or children's court whereby officials go back to check whether the maintenance money is spent on the upkeep of the child or not?
No, we don't have such a system, but there's something similar. Not really something similar, it's distinct, but this is how maybe it will be. For example, you find that this child is being properly maintained, but the person whom their money is being sent to is not using it on the child, right? I mean, you'd have these children, maybe for example, a teacher can notice that this child comes to school without lunch, without a proper jersey. What's happening? Some of those issues can be picked up from there. And actually, even Department of Social Development can actually be made aware of such an issue. To say, look, we have such an issue, this child is being maintained, but we don't think that the person who is entrusted with the care of this child is using the resources or the money in the right way. They can still investigate that. And also, even the person who maintenance is sought against, or the person who's paying maintenance, it's actually very important for a person to exercise his or her rights of access and contact with the child. Because you might be far away thinking, okay, you are sending the child 2,000, the child is fine. You are not keeping contact with the child, or you are not having access. You decide not to have access with the child. So you will not be able to see what's happening. But once you exercise those rights, the right of contact and access, then you'll be able to pick up if there's such an issue. Then you can actually go to court and say, this is what's happening. I'm maintaining the child, but the child has now come to me and say, nothing is happening. And also, depending on the level, on the age and level of maturity of the child, children actually do know that one of my parents who's not staying with me is maintaining me, but I don't get anything. I don't even go to school trips. I don't go to what, but I know that there's 3,000 or 5,000 that's been sent in. They can actually approach social workers. They can approach the children's court and say, I have this issue, or approach the person who's paying the maintenance, be it the father or the mother. You understand? That's how we pick up. Unfortunately, in the law, we don't have it's a social framework, it's a social framework.
Mr. Malematja, just before we conclude, I think it is safe to say that the main reason why cases of child maintenance get to the court in the first place is because the parents of the child in question have divorced or broken up. Now, suppose a case is taken to court and an order is granted against the defendant or the person whom maintenance is applied against, and that person pays the money for the next couple of months or years in some cases, but you find that along the way, the parents decide to work on their relationship and resolve the issues which led to their breakup, can they now go back to the court and say that we have now fixed our relationship and we have moved back in together and there is no need for this maintenance order anymore? Can they now go back to court and say, no, there's no need for this order anymore? Can you maybe stop it because we are now staying together and we are staying together with our child?
Thanks for that question. Yes, definitely. Relationships can be sour. Some relationships can be fixed, some cannot. And in a situation like that, where you just mentioned that, it's actually very important. If in that situation, then it does happen that the parents reconcile and they live together as life partners or get married, then it becomes pointless because they're in the same household and, they've now, reconciled. And actually in reconciliation, sometimes their attention is even on their love, but also on the child, then they can actually approach the court. The complainant, the person who took the other person to court, can actually go to court and say, I want to do away with the maintenance order. It's no longer necessary because we stay in the same household. We eat from the same pot. Our finances are one now. So they can actually, they have that option. It's not like a long life thing or like an eternal life thing that even when the parties have reconciled and they are staying together as a AP or a married couple, if we can put it that way, that it will be very awkward, for the other party to keep on maintaining the child who you see every day and you also contribute to the households and stuff. So they actually can go to back to the court that granted the order to say that, look, things have changed now. Therefore, we no longer need this maintenance. Even when a child gets old. Remember, a child is a person below the age of 18. So if this child turns 18 and they are able to maintain themselves, they work, it falls away. Child maintenance falls away at 18. So there are stages where it falls away. Can fall away by, consent from the other parties, or it can fall away when the child reaches the age of majority.
Mr. Malematja, thank you for coming to the Internet Drive with Gregory Wertsmith. We wish you nothing but the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That was Mr. Stanley Malematja, an admitted attorney of the High Court and Master of Child Law, sharing his expertise with us. That is it from me, Gregory Wertsmith, your host with the most of the Internet Drive with Gregory Wertsmith. See you on the next episode of the Internet Drive with Gregory Wertsmith, discussing nothing but social issues affecting young people and young professionals.
Thanks for joining us.
We love having you as a listener.
Be sure to join us next time.
Same time, same place, next week.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes.